When people argue about the greatest big man ever, the conversation always comes back to two names, Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain. One is remembered as the ultimate winner, and the other as the ultimate numbers machine. What's wild is that you can already see that split before they join the NBA. You can see it in college, you can see it in March, and you can see it in the 2 seasons that played out almost like previews of their entire rivalry. This is the story of Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain before the pros, and how their college days and championship games foreshadowed everything that came next. For Bill Russell, he did not walk into a blue blood program. He didn't choose a powerhouse like Kansas or Kentucky. He went to the University of San Francisco, a small Jesuit school that was not a national championship brand when he arrived in the early 1950s. Russell came out of high school in Oakland. Russell came out of Oakland's high school system as a raw but explosive athlete, roughly 6'10" and 215 pounds, with timing, length, and instincts that coaches hadn't really seen used that way on defense. As a freshman, he averaged around 20 points per game and quickly became obsessed with one thing: winning. When he moved to the varsity in 1953 under coach Phil Woolpert, something clicked. Woolpert wasn't trying to run a glamorous offense. He built a system around defense, rebounding, and controlling the game's tempo. That system style fit perfectly for Russell. He turned the paint into a no-fly zone. He blocked shots at a level that people simply weren't used to, and he changed how opponents even thought about attacking the rim. Over his varsity years, Russell averaged around 20 points a game and 20 rebounds per game at USF, but the box score didn't capture his impact. The Dons were 18-6 in one season, then exploded into a dynasty. They won the national title in 1955 and repeated in 1956. In the mid-1950s, Russell and USF ripped off a 55-plus game win streak and finished 29-0 in 1955 and 56. They played pressure defense, turned blocks and rebounds into offense, and used Russell as a one-man back line that allowed everyone else to gamble and play fly-around offense and fly-around defense. This was not a blue blood talent stack team. This was a previously modest program reshaped into a powerhouse because one player changed the geometry of the game. March 23, 1956, the NCAA championship game was San Francisco versus Iowa, Russell's last college game. Iowa came in hot, but USF finished the game 83-71, winning another national championship and back-to-back. Russell went for 26 points and 27 rebounds in that game, a final stat line that feels like foreshadowing of the rebounding dominance he'd show with the Boston Celtics. He walked out of college with a back-to-back national championship, a massive winning streak, and a reputation as the best defensive player anyone had ever seen at that point. That same year, he captured the U.S. team's Olympic gold medal in Melbourne, completing the rare triple of college titles and Olympic gold before ever playing in the NBA game. Even before Red Auerbach and the Celtics turned Russell's story into what was clear, a team-first attitude. Even before Red Auerbach and the Celtics, Russell's story was already clear. Give him a team, and the team wins big. Russell's pre-NBA resume looked exactly like a prototype for his Celtics years. He wasn't about chasing scoring titles. He was about building systems where everyone else's life got easier. USF didn't become famous because of the glossy offense. It became famous because it was almost impossible to beat them in 40 minutes. He took a small, non-traditional power and turned it into a national champion twice. Later, he would take the same ideas, an already strong Celtics team, and turn them into a greatest dynasty this league has ever known. The pattern is simple. Wherever Russell went, banners followed. Now let's shift scenes. Wilt Chamberlain's path was totally different. He was a national phenom coming out of Philadelphia as a teenager, a 7-footer who could run like a guard and jump like a track star. When it was time to pick a college, he chose the University of Kansas, a true basketball blue blood under legendary coach Phil Allen, where Russell turned an under-the-radar program into a powerhouse. Wilt walked into one of sports' greatest stages with massive expectations and national attention from day one. Because of the NCAA rules, a freshman could not play varsity, so Wilt waited and finally debuted for KU December 3rd, 1956, where he unleashed years of hype in one night, scoring 52 points and 31 rebounds in his first varsity game, breaking school records immediately. From that moment, everyone knew statistically this guy was going to be something the sport had never seen before. In 2 seasons at Kansas, Chamberlain averaged 29 points and 18 rebounds per game, absurd numbers for that era. He set program records for single game scoring, rebounding, field goals made, and was a conference scoring champion both seasons. But there was a problem. The game started bending around him in a different way than it did for Russell. His opponents began to stall. Without a shot clock, teams would sometimes hold the ball for minutes at a time, just to keep it away from Wilt and shorten the game. They sent double teams, triple teams, fronted him, put people behind him, chased him off the boards, essentially turned the game into a long, grinding test of frustration. Even when Kansas was winning, and they did it a lot, there was a sense that people were trying to figure out how to neutralize him rather than Kansas itself. In the 1956-57 season that took Wilt and Kansas all the way to the Final Four, in the semifinals they faced Russell's old school, San Francisco. Now trying to extend his dynasty without him, Kansas crushed them, 80-56. Wilt put in 32 points, 11 rebounds, and had 7 block shots. In that moment, he looked like the next evolution of what Russell had been, same position, even more scoring, just as physically overwhelming. But then came the championship game against top-ranked and then undefeated North Carolina. Kansas was number 2. UNC coach Frank McGuire built his entire game plan around Wilt. He even sent out his shortest player, Tommy Kearns, to jump center against Chamberlain at the opening tip, just to mess with his rhythm and send a message. From there, Carolina triple-teamed him, one defender in front, one behind, and another one crashing as soon as he caught the ball. Kansas shot 27% from the field, while North Carolina had 64% from the field, and the game was already tight. UNC started to stall with the ball. Using no shot clock, the rules led to bleeding time. The game went not 1, not 2, but 3 overtimes, with the final score being North Carolina 54, Kansas 53. Wilt finished with big numbers, but walked away without the title, one of the college basketball's most famous heartbreaks. Wilt's junior season, 57-58, more of the same, but even more people, making it frustrating for him. Teams leaned even harder into the stall tactics and multiple man coverage. His teammate Bob Billings said it flat out. It wasn't fun basketball. They were just chasing opponents who were passing the ball back and forth, trying to avoid Wilt Chamberlain having the ball. Chamberlain still averaged over 30 points a game and led Kansas to a 18-5 record. But the team finished second in the league and didn't even get invited to the NCAA tournament because only one conference champion was allowed in that era. After that, he was done with college ball. Instead of coming back, he left early and went to the Harlem Globetrotters, a unique path that kept him out of the NBA for yet another year, but kept his name huge. So even at the college level, the pattern started to form. Wilt's stats are overwhelmingly otherworldly, but the biggest college stage he reaches in 1957, he's on the wrong end of a 1-point triple overtime loss. Now put Russell and Wilt's pre-NBA stories side by side, and the foreshadowing is almost too clean. For Russell, takes a small school with little national attention and leads them to 55 straight wins and back-to-back national championships. Wilt joins a premier program in the country, puts up jaw-dropping numbers, reaches one title game, loses in triple overtime, and never returns to the NCAA title tournament game, and never returns to the NCAA tournament. Russell shows up in environments, and the environment transforms into winning. Even his Olympics in 1956 is all about team success and defensive strategies. Wilt shows up, and the entire sport tilts around him statistically. Rules change, tactics change, tempos change. His opponents become obsessed with taking the ball out of his hands, slowing him down, and turning a 40-minute game into a few possessions as possible. Later in the NBA, that same dynamic plays out. Russell, 11 NBA championships in 13 seasons, 5 MVPs, and a reputation as the greatest winner the league had ever seen. Wilt, video game numbers, 50 points per game in a season, 100-point game in one game. career averages that still seem impossible, but only 2 championships and a constant comparison to Russell and the ring count. The college years didn't create these identities, but they did reveal them early. Russell learned how to anchor a culture, sacrifice scoring for impact, and build winning habits on a team that had no history of winning. Wilt learned what it was like to be the center of everything: the offense, the scouting report, the rules, and the criticism when it did not end in a title. So when people look back and say Russell was the ultimate winner and Wilt was the ultimate stat stuffer, that perception doesn't just come from Boston or Philadelphia or Los Angeles. It starts even earlier. It starts with a kid from Oakland turning the University of San Francisco into a juggernaut. And it starts with a 7-footer from Philadelphia going to Kansas, shattering records, but watching other teams cut down nets. By the time they met in the NBA, the storylines were already written in pencil. Bill Russell, the one who bends entire programs into winning, and Wilt Chamberlain, the man who bends the whole game's numbers and forces everyone else to figure him out to stop him. Their college days and those March championships didn't just lead into their rivalry. It predicted it.